Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone that joined us today. Either if you're here in person in this very cloudy Gothenburg weather, or if you're joining us online from wherever you are in the world. It's just great for us to have you all here as we wrap up HIVE14, our traineeship here at Humblebee, with our final presentation. So this initiative was between Stadskupan, that is here with us, and Humblebee, that is also all over here with us. And we're very excited to show this amazing work that we're very proud of being part of for the past couple of months. And today we will go through a little bit of the insights, the development of what was our final platform called Bloom. But before that, I just wanted to mention a little bit how massive and interconnected of a system biodiversity actually is. It creates a lot of complexity because we're dealing with ecosystems, with climate impact, with urban spaces, and human intervention. So it's so many things adding up and influencing each other. And on top of that, biodiversity data is often quite scattered, and it makes quite hard for us to be able to track, process the progress, and make decisions throughout the process. Right now, most of the biodiversity efforts happen in isolation. So projects work independently with no shared systems. So that means that companies, scientists, policymakers lack a common baseline, making it tough to measure long-term impact. And without a HIVE mindset, these efforts remain disconnected and meaningful change ends up being harder to achieve. But we see here a huge opportunity also, because if we manage to connect the right pieces, we believe that we can turn this challenge into an actual opportunity. So by bridging pollinators as these bioindicators with the current urban initiatives, we believe that we can create a more effective and scalable system. So that's exactly what we did with Stadskupan and in our project Bloom, and what we aim to show you today. But before we explain more, we really wanted to show or hear a little bit what you actually already know about biodiversity. So learn a little bit by doing, and also just get you a little bit interactive right in the beginning with some insights that we had from our research. So if you can grab your phones and scan this QR code up here, we will go on a little game. And to anybody that's online, also just scan it and interact there. I think it's for everyone. I don't know where my mouse is. So just to start off, just open question. What do you think is one word that defines the biggest challenges in biodiversity? I see some word there. Humans, yeah, that's right. Invasive species, human again, money, pollution, environment. I mean, it's what I was saying before, right? So many different things that are interconnected. So it's quite hard to have just one answer. But I think that pretty much covers it. Yeah. And now for a little bit more of an exciting question, I would say. One thing that we realized early on was that the bees are actually quite important for our processes, the food. So how much of the world's food production you believe the bees are responsible for? And that's a scale of 0 to 100. So a lot of people think 100 or 80, maybe, more or less. We have somebody there a little bit more in the bottom. So, yeah, actually, the little one here was the one that got the closest because it's about 30%. So it's often said that every third bite of food that we consume is because of the pollination of bees and other pollinators. And then is like a little quick quiz, which is if you could choose one factor that's oh, I have to start it right. If you can choose one factor that's the most important for the challenges of biodiversity, and that happened. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know. 1 second.
Oh.
What happened?
How's the quiz going?
Oh, okay.
Yay!
Best part of that happened.
Yeah, so we couldn't see the quiz in real time, but okay. But basically, the point that I was trying to make is that is the combination of above all of those different things. It's not just one thing, but it's a mix of many issues making the solutions
I don't
quite
think the
tricky.
screen is sharing anymore.
Sorry?
I don't think the screen is sharing anymore.
That's a fair point. Thank you. Yeah, I believe I'm sharing now. And then one extra one is if you would rank those 4 challenges of biodiversity, which ones would you put on top? And this is quite subjective, right? There's no right answers as there was on the other ones, kind of. Here is really to see a little bit what do you all think about it. Scattered, lack of public awareness, going up and down. I mean, scatter is copying there on the top. I mean, there's a lot of flags. Right? And finally, just to make something a little bit fun, is we believe bees have superpowers. So we could say that they're superheroes, but what would be the superhero name you would give a bee? Superhero bee, super bee, queen bee. People are really thinking about it. The great bomb. I think we should include some of those on the database. Yeah. Here are some ideas for the new queen bee names. But yeah, so this was just to start off a little bit, the presentation, just a little bit of questions and fun. But also this Mentimeter is going to be open throughout the presentation. So if you have any questions, don't hold them on, just write them here. And by the end, we're going to have a Q&A, and we start with the questions that are here. So I'm just going to leave that as it is and move to the actual presentation. Hopefully it still works there on your phones. Okay, so. So basically, thank you very much for the engagement. I think we wanted to have something a little bit interactive. But now that we explored some of those key ideas, we wanted just to introduce a little bit ourselves to maybe who don't know any of us specifically. So my name is Felipe. I am originally from Brazil, and I am also an impromptu facilitator and a big advocate for creativity and co-creation. And I have been working as the service designer for HIVE14.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry if it doesn't look great. My name is Mani Sundberg, and I am the front-end developer of HIVE14. I have a background within the union work and also the restaurant business, but as for now, I am a front-end student at Medieinstitutet here in Gothenburg.
All right. So my name is Atko. I'm the second half of the developers. In this project, I act as a full stack developer, and currently I'm enrolled in my school, IT-högskolan, studying to become a JavaScript developer. And I like to dance also.
My name is Marcus. I'm born and raised here in Gothenburg, and currently I'm studying my final year in my master's program in interaction design at Chalmers. And I'm the UX designer for the theme.
Yeah, and I'm the last one of the team. I lost my voice a little bit, so I'm not going to talk a lot. So if you find it during the presentation, please bring it back to me. But I'm Anne. I studied back in Delft, my home country. I did there design for interaction. Then moved to Sweden, had this great opportunity to work here as a product designer of the HIVE team. So that's me.
Yeah, and we, the HIVE14 team, have been tackling this challenge alongside Stadskupan, and we just wanted to now take you a little bit through that journey. And just to give you a little bit of an overview what we're going to go through together today with the time we have, we'll start with the foundation, basically what is the opportunity that we got working with Stadskupan and basically why we are here. Then we'll dive into what value we believe HIVE14 managed to bring and how we actually manage to create impact. Then we will go through Bloom, our concept, what it looks like, and how it functions as a digital platform. And finally, where do we go next? Unfortunately, this HIVE14 cohort is ending today, but we hope that Bloom is just starting to flourish. But before we dive into Bloom, we wanted just to take a quick moment to revisit who is Stadskupan and how their mission has set the foundation for our project. So Stadskupan champions urban biodiversity, ensuring that cities become thriving ecosystems for people and pollinators to coexist. Their work focuses on mainly 3 areas: installing urban beehives, consulting businesses and municipalities on biodiversity, and also educating communities on the role of pollinators. For them, bees are more than just pollinators, but they're also this symbol that represents how an enhanced biodiversity can be in cities. And as we explored further with Stadskupan the idea of biodiversity, we understood that there was 3 major systemic challenges or barriers for lasting impact. And without addressing this, we realized that the efforts would remain fragmented and would limit how much we could actually change in the long term. So first, there is the lack of this baseline data. So without standardized tracking, it is quite hard to understand what is improving and what is not. And as one of our interviewees mentioned, nowadays it's almost as if we're comparing apples to oranges. This means that companies, cities, the public end up struggling to prove real impact. Second, we see these siloed initiatives. Biodiversity projects often operate independently. Cities, companies, researchers end up not sharing insights, which slows the progress and hinders collaboration. And finally, the short-term mindset that many initiatives end up setting for quick wins. But biodiversity takes time, so without a long-term commitment, even great efforts risk fading before they can actually make a real difference. So how do we move beyond these barriers? We believe that to overcome those, we need first solutions that can bring value of bridging biodiversity gaps, leveraging collaboration, and creating lasting impact. And early on in the process, we learned a very interesting fact that I would want to share with you today. That is, as I was saying before, that bees do so much more than pollinate. They actually have a superpower. They are living biosensors. Each time a bee visits a flower, it picks up traces of the DNA of biodiversity, pollutants, and allergens, allowing us to extract powerful insights about our urban ecosystems. And here's the incredible part. Bees are able to fly and travel up to 5 kilometers from their hive, meaning that a single beehive can provide a biodiversity snapshot across an entire urban area. And through DNA pollen analysis, we can track flora and fauna biodiversity, measure which species exists or are endangered and how they interact. At the same time, we can also pick up traces of heavy metals, pesticides, pollutants, allowing us to monitor the air quality and contamination levels. And finally, they collect pollen allergens, meaning we can detect ecosystem shifts and their potential impact on public health. This transforms bees into these biosensors, turning their natural behavior of scavenging into actionable environmental data. And it was that data that we based Bloom as a city-wide ecosystem monitoring platform. But how do we turn bee superpower into actually systemic change? From our research, we identified 3 key opportunities to actually make biodiversity efforts more connected, measurable, and impactful. First, as I was saying, the bees visit the flowers and gather critical environmental information. This data is quite powerful, but it's often underused. So by structuring and analyzing it, we gain a new tool for biodiversity tracking. The challenge, though, is not just collecting the biodiversity data, but is also making it accessible and actionable. And right now, companies, scientists, and policymakers end up working in isolation. So by creating a shared platform, we can break these silos and drive further collaboration. But data alone is not enough. It needs to inform real-world decisions. By standardizing biodiversity tracking, we help companies, governments, and communities to understand their impact, justify investments, and drive long-term change. With these opportunities in mind, we built Bloom, which is a platform designed to connect data, people, and action. And to explore how we turn these insights into tangible solutions, I will pass it on to my fellow designers.
Thank you. So now we're going to present our concept Bloom. What we really try to do, and what Philippe was already saying, is creating this platform where we can collect all the data in once, where people can interact with it and make it more visible what they can use it with. So this is a first glance, but I will pass the mic over to Marcus, who is going to tell you more about the features that are inside our concept.
Yeah, so what we wanted to do was like try to gather all the data from the 23 different hives that are spread out in Gothenburg and congregate it into one platform where we can draw like bigger analyses and try to look at it from the bigger picture, which can sometimes be hard when you're gathering like small samples of biodiversity data around the city in general. So we take the averages of all the different beehives spread out in Gothenburg and present it as the baseline that we can compare the different individual beehives to. We do this with the help of the page on the left side of the screen, where we can see the different, like an overview of the city of Gothenburg, how it's performing in these different areas and categories that we divided it in from the data that we gathered. So it's divided into biodiversity, flora, fauna, metals, and pollutions, which you can use to filter and look at the city as a whole to gain more deeper insights. You can also view longer term trends to see from like a longer span of time if the actions of the city are actually performing or making a difference in the biodiversity of the city in the different areas. We also have different filters on the map on the right side of the screen, where you can, for instance, use a heat map to view different hotspots where the biodiversity is like significantly lower or higher than the averages in the city of Gothenburg, so that the city officials and the research, like governmental agencies, know where they can focus their efforts within the city. They also have different alerts that can show up when certain levels exceed appropriate. So for instance, if it's like heavy metal levels in some areas are very high, or if there's some endangered species showing up or invasive species in certain areas of the map, we have these alerts that show these, that draw the officials' attention to these pressing issues. Another problem, with, like I said, with gathering biodiversity data can be that it's hard to get that context for it all. But now once we have the baseline, we can use this to gauge, to compare the individual beehives to this baseline. And we do this we can focus on, so once you press on an individual beehive on the map, it changes the overall view of the city into the view of the individual beehive. And displays the data divided into the same category, 5 categories, where you get more deeper data than you have in the overall view of the city. You can also view how the different categories here clearly visualize how they're performing compared to the baseline of the city. So maybe it's doing a lot worse in the metals found, higher in the pollution levels. Once you press on a specific beehive, you also see the radius around the hive that the bees have collected the honey from, and it highlights the different green areas within that radius, so that you know approximately from which areas the pollen has been collected. And you can also use the filtering functions on the left side of the screen to dive deeper into the areas of interest. And as a researcher, if you're interested into exporting the raw data to be used in your own research, you can also do that for each of the individual graphs visualized, or for all the data from the hive itself, and export it outside the platform, since sometimes you can use it in your own research to gauge other insights that we might have missed in our visualizations on this platform. And you also have a clear information stream about each of the graphs that display very clearly how the data, how the calculations were made for each graph, and also presenting more actionable insights for the users of the platform, so that they know how they can improve the values that show up on the visualizations. And now we hand off to the developers.
Right. Hi everyone. Thank you, designers. So me and Molly, we're gonna tell you a bit about the MVP. So basically, it won't be as flashy as the concept that you just saw, because obviously it's MVP, and that's what we managed to do in 2 sprints. So before we start the video, we're gonna do this by video. So basically, the website that we've developed, it's focused around 2 types of users. So the left side, you can see the login button. That's for the admin. And the go-to-map link is for the user that wants to navigate the different beehives and see the data connected to them. So that way. Oh, sorry everyone. Right, you can start the video now. It is, okay. So if we are an admin, we want to log in on the left side there. And for this purpose, we haven't developed a login function because it wasn't the highly prioritized one. Instead, so you would just end up in an admin page. And there, as you can see on the right side, you have information regarding existing beehives. Let's see, I'm just going to wait for the mouse there to... right, so you can actually see the beehive name and the company they're connected to. And in the middle there, you'll see a list of companies. And on the right side, the active users that are on the other side viewing the map and the beehives. So here, an admin can actually add new users to the database. We didn't show that in the video, but we'll show you how to set up a beehive. So let's see. So basically, we're going to type in a beehive name, I think orange in this case. And the beehive queen name will be, oh yeah, it was supposed to be orangey, but yeah. Orangey, and we're gonna connect it to beehive C, and so you're gonna see that the beehive table has updated with beehive orange, and it's connected to company C. And on the left side also, if the admin user wants to see, is it really connected, then you will see orange exist. So besides from managing Beehive's companies and users, the admin can also upload new analysis that are connected to each and every Beehive. We're going to do that to Beehive Orange here. So we're going to update an analysis in form of an Excel file. And below the table should update with orange and the timestamp of the analysis that was added. So this is basically the admin functionality that exists, and it feeds the other interface that you're going to see now. And my friend Malin here is going to tell you a bit more about that.
Yeah, so here we have the current map view. And as you can see, we have several beehives in Gothenburg for now. And here is the beehive on company C that you can see when you hover. And you are met with this about the project dialogue and how to navigate through the map and the dialogue itself. Yeah. And we're actually going to start, yes, you can see, you can also zoom. It's a total interactive map. So we're going to go to company A, and here we have some information about beehive. And here we have Queen Nectarine III, who's currently living here. So you have some information about the bees, and we're going to see how the biodiversity looks like in this area. And at the top, you can see a total biodiversity score. And that's actually a total of the richness that you can see at the bottom. And here you have some specifics about what they mean as well. And you can also press another beehive while on this. And you can see now that the charts is going to change just a little bit. But that's so you can actually see the difference behind on each and every beehive. You can also see the flora and fauna. And I guess not everybody speaks Latin. So you can see how many times something have turned out in the samples in this family. And while hovering, you can also see a little fact about what is this actual family doing and what does it contain. Yeah, and I hover up because it's a funny comment, so you can read it. Yeah, and basically, if we don't have any data, like in this case, there's no pollution data found. But then we can also check another beehive. Okay, company E, does it have pollution? Yes, it does. And there we can see the pollution data as well. And this one has also a little bit Hoover effect because we need to know what does it come from and what is it basically. And then we can press on metals if we also want to see the metals in the area. And thankfully, it's not a lot of metal here, so it's a good one. But I want to address that this data is not actual data of the beehives that we have in Gothenburg. It's a big thank you to Apple Lab in France that actually gave us some data to play around with. So that's really nice. Thank you, Benjamin and Priscilla, for that. But this is basically the map view as it is for now. And if you want to play around more in the map, you can just press the arrows and take away the thing. Or you can press the home so you can see this information again. But basically you can just press it away and play around in the map and see the other beehives. Yeah, so that's what we got so far.
Right. So just to give you a little bit, not much technicality. So the data that the website uses obviously is on a database that we host and render for free. And the database consists of the following four tables. And the correlation between them is like a company can obviously have many users. A company can have many beehives, and a beehive can have many analysis. Now I won't go into detail about this. Just touch briefly upon the tech stack that was used. So basically, the reason behind why we use this tech stack was because obviously React is very much used in the industry today, and also because we have the knowledge here in house at Humblebee. So that is the reason behind our choice. That's it.
We're supposed to have the other mic that killed your ears. That's why there's a little bit of the moving out the mic, but hopefully it's fine. But yeah, so now we have seen how Bloom is working today, right? Both on the conceptual level, but also how it has been developed so far. We want to also bring you to look a little bit ahead and envision what is next. So that's why it's the vision. This is where we shift from the developed concept to a long-term strategy and how Bloom can evolve beyond HIVE14 into a full ecosystem. We explore the next stages of development, the business model behind it, and how we believe it can be scaled for impact. So for Bloom to succeed long-term, we need a sustainable business model that balances cost, data quality, and engagement. Bloom expands into Stadskupan existing model into a multi-sided platform that engages governments, scientists, companies, and eventually the public. For companies, Bloom adds to the current Beehive as a service subscription-based model that Stadskupan currently have. It adds a structured biodiversity insights on top of what they already pay for the Beehive install and maintenance. Government and scientists benefit from kind of a Netflix-sized subscription model in the sense that it's quite a cheap subscription model more for the maintenance of the platform more than anything. And ensuring that there's this accessibility to the environmental data while keeping the cost to a minimum. And customer relationships are strengthened via established external dashboards. So it is possible to already provide direct, actionable insights that translate the raw data into meaningful decisions, even if the platform is not fully developed yet. And the Blue Ocean strategy here is the idea of transforming the Beehive sponsorship into an entire new market, making biodiversity intelligence accessible, interactive, and scalable. With multiple revenue streams, so the subscription from the companies and from scientists and governments, tiered access for different types of users, and also eventually add revenue from the public. Bloom is designed to ensure a financial sustainability while advancing Stadskupan's mission at scale. And we envision the development of Bloom in a staged approach, growing its capabilities, customer segments, and audience to reach even further over time. So right now, what we're presenting you is just the first phase of it, which is what we managed to build today, what we call the minimum lovable product. Hopefully it was lovable enough. But allowing us to do the basic data visualization and really make sure to show what these comparisons would be all about. Then phase 2 is what we originally thought we were going to be able to make. We realized we didn't have enough time for that, but it expands the functionality deeper into analytics, helping governments and scientists compare biodiversity shifts over time. Then when we get to 2025, the plan is to introduce ecosystem-wide trends, allowing urban planners and policymakers to be able to integrate biodiversity into long-term decisions. And finally, in 2026, we would be able to bring the public with different gamifications, community-driven contributions, and company-sponsored sustainability efforts. So we wanted to present this because we wanted to ensure that Bloom is not just a research tool, but also a public engagement platform driving real impact in the long-term situation. And if you're a little bit curious about more insights, we cannot present everything, but we have been working on this booklet that we hopefully can prioritize transparency and have a documentation that can ensure this continuation of HIVE14 bloom beyond HIVE14. I am just finishing to edit it, so if you scan it right now, it's going to be a preview. Some of the pages are just saying cover. You can skip those ones. There's other things after that. But we hope that by summarizing this, our insights, our decisions, and our strategic recommendations, it can serve as a resource for Stadskupan, for Humblebee, or for any other stakeholders that might be interested to continue developing Bloom in the near future. We expect to deliver physical copies for both Stadskupan and Humblebee by the end of this month. Hopefully that will go according to plan, but we'll contact you with that. And for you here today, you're welcome, if you haven't already, just scan the QR code and see a little bit of the preview of the current state of the booklet, and also leave any comments there, because you can. So, yeah. So this was our presentation for today. We will have now a space for questions. I'll go first there on the Mentimeter to see if there was any questions there, but either way, we're going to use the Mentimeter for questions. Yeah. Okay, fine. So yeah, we have already some questions. If you want to put any questions, feel free to scan the QR code that we have here. It's the same one from before, if you haven't said. Let's see there. Thank you for congratulating. I heard something about domesticated bees competing out wild bees. Does that affect the business idea? That wild bees are competing with domesticated bees. That is something.
That is something we have in consideration for the people who.
Yeah.
Did everyone hear that? Like, we were just saying that it's very important for the record. The balance between nature and urban cities is something we need to work on. Of course, inviting nature to the urban cities, but also when it comes to pollinators, honeybees, and wild pollinators, and that's something Stadskupan works with every day, and we are expanding our business to more work with the wild pollinators. So that's important for everyone to know that we will always be considerate when it comes to balance. Thank you.
Yeah, I think in terms of narrative purposes, we maybe simplified a little bit by saying just bees, but thank you very much for the answer. I think we could not answer better than that. Then let's see, how does the UI rate accessibility-wise reacted to the color dots with white numbers in them on the individual Hive page? I think we can just stand in the middle, so it's a little bit easier not to run around.
It's a good question. I don't think we had that much time to try some actual accessibility testing, but like for the future iterations, that's definitely a very good point and comment.
Then have you considered joining partners to expand the project everywhere around the globe? Yeah, I think Apilab, for example, that we mentioned, which is the lab in France that I believe they're watching us also. They were very, very helpful throughout the process with giving us data, but they were also very interested in collaborating further with Stadskupan, but also with the other companies that they have both in France. I think it's mainly France, but they had some other countries also, I think Spain and things like that. So Canada, so they're expanding. So that's already one partner that we had throughout the process. That was quite an interesting one. But I think, as we were mentioning, this thing is so systemic that you need a systemic approach to be able to work on that. So the more people, the more partners you manage to bring in, I think the more richness you end up getting from the project.
I think we also thought about making it like scalable so that it will be easy to integrate other beehives also as well into the system. So since there are a lot of beehives all around the world, and you wouldn't need to build a lot more. As if you're thinking of the balance between the wild bees and the bees, because you can integrate them and get more value from each beehive that's already placed around everywhere.
Perhaps in chat.
Yeah. It's also some.
Yeah. Then we have what has been the hardest thing challenge doing the project?
I think we talked about it a little bit. We stepped into this process with knowing each other, but also not knowing a lot about biodiversity. And that was really hard to grasp for us itself. Like, what is the problem? We did a ton of research. There were so many ways to go to. So I think this subject of biodiversity and what is it, and getting to get to know each other and how we were thinking about biodiversity, but also what it is. I think that was, if I speak for everybody, like one of the biggest challenges of this product.
Yeah, but I also think that choosing what user to focus on in the MVP, what will bring most value to Stadskupan, that was a bit challenging to narrow down. Okay, but we can focus on all four future users. But yeah, so that, do you guys agree?
Yeah, it took us a week of different workshops and discussions, but we got there. And I think hopefully you got the right decision.
Yeah, and I just want to add, like on the personal level, it was hard for us developers. I think it's a really special experience sitting as developers for the first period of the project and act like designers, and just keeping in mind that, okay, we're not going to develop yet. That was really hard, but it was an amazing experience. And we had some really good designers who...
No, to your manager, your troopers, like they really became designers for a couple of months.
It was fun.
Yeah, and I think that adds to the next question. What was the best part in the project? I think we learned so much from each other. We really had a lot of fun with playing music, trying different things, experimenting around. So I think that just the whole group was the best part for sure.
Yeah, thank you, Karina, for setting these people up together. Yeah, you did amazing work.
Thank you, Humblebee, as well, and Stadskupan.
Yeah. Then we have, in your opinion, what's the difference between the MLP and then the MVP? The main difference is just a couple of features, to be honest. Like as Atko mentioned, we didn't focus on the login because that was something that would be quite trivial, but it would be something that to actually have the admin and the users come in would need the login. We didn't have an export function also installed yet. So the MLP was really what is that we can create that will translate to the main communication we want to give to both Stadskupan and Humblebee as a concept, right? So, and the MVP, there for us, that's why it's the minimum viable product would really be the point where that could be shipped to actual clients. So the MLP is more of an internal tool, I would say, kind of a proof of concept in a way.
Yeah, I think it's like, in a sense, sort of that we, at the MLP, we took the data that we had now and we displayed it in a way that people could interact with it. For the MVP, there also has to be a little bit more tweaking on how can we also like congregate data together, and we just concluded that we weren't that good and specialist already on like the data exactly, just a little bit more looking into how to connect all the data together or combine them.
Yeah.
Do I hear?
No, but to the data also, there's a question here. So being highly data-driven tool, how is it checked that the data is in fact representing the actual numbers? Can the bees miss something?
Superhero.
The bees will have to answer that.
Yeah. We had a brief conversation with Apilab about that. I don't think we managed to go in so much detail about the data as we wanted. I mean, if we show you the Excel sheet for the data is about 100 columns or something, so it's crazy amount of data. But they have been working with this type of pollen analysis for a couple of years now. So I believe it's more their, credibility in working on that and having multiple clients. Then more than anything, the data really comes to us already fully parsed and they do the science stuff. We do the design and develop stuff.
Right, but also I think for the data to be a bit more valid, you would have to have several samples. I think that's also what many of the scientists said, like after a couple of years, then you will should see the real trends. So even if a bee misses something, eventually certain bees are gonna, certain periods are gonna get hold of the data.
And I mean, to add to that also, on the current business model that we structured for Bloom, it would be 2 analyses per year. So one in the beginning of summer and one by the end of summer. So then you can also have a comparative basis every year, not just one sample. And you can, of course, do 3 samples also with one in the middle of summer, but we thought that 2 samples was striking the balance of the cost, but also the when you can check the data with the data from Gothenburg.
I think also one important factor is that it's supposed, I think, like we thought about it as a way to get like a broader view of the whole environment. Since it's hard, you can collect samples, but those are usually very like exact where you take them, and you don't get the big overview in the way that you're collecting biodiversity data today. So this is more of a wide view to see, so you can probably see, oh, this is some area we need to focus on more and get like more citywide perspective compared to more very detailed and accurate results.
And then to Marcus. Marcus, you mentioned that you had possibility to know where the bees had been to fetch pollen, represented by the green circle areas. How does that work?
No, that was just visualizing the areas that are within the, depending on the time of year, you can say that approximately 3 kilometers radius around the beehive is where they usually go fetch the pollen. So this was just a way to visualize the green areas within those, within that radius, to give a approximation, or like so maybe look at these areas if you're curious to more. But yes, it would be very hard to say exactly where they fetch the pollen.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a good point.
Yeah. And then there's a question there, where does the data come from? Sensors placed in each beehive. Actually, right now I believe it's quite manual, right? You go in the beehive, but you have to get, I think, is it 1 gram?
Yeah, about 1 gram pollen.
Yeah, about 1 gram of pollen. So whenever you do the maintenance in the beehive, you can just get that from a pollen, and that's enough to do all the 100 columns of analysis. Do you see other applications for this collaborative solution? I think one of the main things that we didn't manage to cover so much, because we ended up focusing more on the government, scientists, and private companies, is really the public awareness side of things. So the last stage of the 4th stage timeline, where you start showing people why biodiversity is important, why bees are important, and you actually have people interact and be part of the initiatives, right? I believe for Stadskupan it's very important volunteers. I see a lot of times you having volunteers to jar the honey, to help with different things. So really having this perspective of what is happening around the town, what are the different companies that are doing so and so, I think that's one thing that we really see the future as a big plus.
I think that was also one of the ways we thought about utilizing the map, that we could show which different initiatives were taking place in the map, in future iterations, so that people could connect through this way. Since we talked to different organizations that are doing a lot of biodiversity and other environmental initiatives in other places. So it would be a good tool to focus on that type of collaboration as well.
And then one question more there. What do you think would be the biggest hurdle to tackle in order to reach the MVP version, should you continue the project? I think the main hurdle we had this semester was time. I don't think the MVP is something that is crazy to do. It just takes time, mainly because we have to check a lot of the questions you had, right? The accessibility, you have to check the data, you have to do a lot of testing that we didn't manage, because we tried, for example, to bring stakeholders to do testing in November, December, when we started having the concepts and the development. But of course, there was a period of time that a lot of people had quite busy schedules. So I think the main thing is time, because I think full confidently that we would be able to get there.
And yes, we should definitely work further on it. I feel it's a very important issue, and also there's a lot of potential. If nothing else, than to like congregate and collect these data to see longer term trends in societies. As we know, there's nothing that's exactly at least nothing in Gothenburg.
Okay, there was no more. I didn't want you to make it bigger, but that was the next thing I was going to bring either way. So can we have a comment from Stadskupan on the project? So.
Thank you so much. Hi everybody. Just want to say hi to the camera. Yeah, so it's been very exciting to follow you guys, and I think we think that you've done a great job. And when it comes to biodiversity, then to be able to measure biodiversity has been a big hurdle in the industry to be able to, work with it and see what affects different type of åtgärder almost. Yeah. So and this was also one of the reasons we want to. We're glad that you took this project and made it this way, and it's been really nice to follow you guys, and we really hope that we can use this in the future. And yeah, do you want to say something? Huh? Yes. Exactly. So take contact with us, and we'll make sure that this will come in handy for the city and for the people and for nature. Thank you, guys.
We also want to thank you guys for collaboration. I know that you were very accessible, which is very good for a partner company. So thank you very much for opportunities for our hivers to get this. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks, hivers, for your job. I know that you work hard. I think you did a great job, and thank you.
You can celebrate this time.
Same here.
Super nice. So it's okay.
Ja, men skolade inte. Jag vet inte, finns det såg inte. Ja, det kan jag ta. Ja, nej, jag visste det. Jag visste det. Nej, jag bara satt och så började känna mig så himla varm och liksom så, du vet, så här, nästan som att man kickar till och sen bara nej, och jag bara shit, så kom jag upp vet nu, vet jag så man är beredd, det är så varmt bara. Ja. Ja, jag vet inte vad det är alltid ihåg. Men jag är ja, nej, jag tyckte också det var så bara nyhetsordningen. Okej, konstigt. Nej, det var bara liksom en för att presentera liksom svenska. Ja. Tack. Tack så mycket. Jag vill börja med
Ja, jag hör det.